Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Tonight's meeting is being conducted by WebEx video conference. There are 4 items on tonight's agenda. Please note that this is a virtual meeting and is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing at the Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, One Brooklyn YouTube channel. I am your presiding officer this evening, Serena Purcell. I'm joined by my colleague, David Perez. In addition, we will be joined by Karen Ford, who will be calling the roll. On tonight's agenda, we have a presentation by City Growers. We also have a presentation by the New York City Department of City Planning, and then followed by unfinished business. As we still wait for the room to fill to get quorum, we are going to start with our first presenter for this evening. Tonight, we are joined by City Growers on pollination health and environmental education program for youth. They're here tonight and they'll be able to answer presentations, answer questions after your presentation. We'd like to have the representative, Mecca, my name is not coming, let me see if it's coming up. Oh, Becca.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Okay.
Becca DeMayo.
Okay,
Hi.
Yeah. Becca DeMayo and her colleague, she will start off her presentation. Becca, you can introduce yourself. You can introduce yourself to the board, your full name, your title, and introduce your colleague too as well. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, thank you so much. I'm really thrilled to be here, very honored to have the opportunity to present to you all. I'm going to try to keep it concise, so any questions that come up we can get to. My name is Becca DeMayo. I am the Executive Director of City Growers. And my colleague, Rebecca Ames, is also present on the call. She'll be taking notes and possibly chiming in. Rebecca Ames is our Director of Development and Communications. And yeah, we're ready. I'm ready to start whenever you are, David.
I can't find the presentation. Can you forward that one to me or to Serena? I don't know if Serena actually sent that to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think you were CC'd on the email. Let me just give it another quick forward to you so you can make sure to have it. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, one moment. I'll just do a direct message to you, David. Oh, Serena, did you send it? Just a message from you. David, do you have the email chain that we were on earlier?
Yeah, I'm pulling it now. I was looking for an attachment. I didn't see it was a hyperlink.
It was a hyperlink. Yes, yes. You found it?
I'm pulling it right now.
Great, thank you. I feel like all this time we've been doing video calls, there still manages to be technical difficulties no matter what, huh? It's kind of how it goes. All right. There it is. Thank you so much. Okay. So as I mentioned, we are City Growers, and today what I'm going to be talking to you all about is our pollinator health and environmental education programs for young people in New York City. So we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so who are we? Who's City Growers? I know some city council members are familiar with us. We've been doing work in Brooklyn for a little while now, but a little bit about us. City Growers uses urban agriculture to engage youth in experiential learning, which nurtures a lifelong relationship to food, their health, and the natural world. So making those connections for young people. So we activate New York City's non-traditional green spaces with hands-on original curriculum designed to foster a love of nature, an understanding of where food comes from, and empower New York City youth to advocate for a better future. We can go on to the next slide. And our impact. So we are working with schools all across New York City. We do have some of our home-based sites are located in Brooklyn. And so really at the core of what we do is increasing access to resources that are not allocated, having a little bit of a, access to resources that are not allocated equally throughout New York City. And this is often the case with environmental resources and education. So this includes a healthy food and green space, and we advocate for all young people to take ownership of their future and the natural world through hands-on experiences in the urban ecosystem. And our programs aim to increase pro-environmental attitudes and behaviors through exposure to urban agriculture and to allow city kids to explore the natural world, connecting the dots between their health and the health of the environment. So often we hear young people saying, nature, that's not something that's a part of who I am. Nature is something that's, upstate, out there, someplace else. And then we bring them to these really unique green spaces like Rooftop farms and other spaces right in their community, and something clicks. We're like, oh, this is nature. It's right here, walking distance from my school or in my community. And through our work, we have over 55,000 New York City youth have participated in a City Growers program to date. And at least 500 new New York City school and nonprofit partnerships are formed every year with City Growers. Of course, with the pandemic, that was a little bit lower, but we're already making lots of connections as things go back to in-person, which we're very excited about. And so this means that about 500,000 seeds have been planted by City Growers participants in New York City. So just to give you sort of a visualization of some of that impact. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. And a little to make the connection with the impact, this is a beautiful image of one of the rooftop farms that we teach out of. It's our living STEM learning laboratory for young people. It's our outdoor classroom space. And a big part about connecting the impact to a space like this, what we do is we look at the equity in access to a space like this. So really why City Growers even exists in the first place is to make sure that all young people and families are able to connect to these beautiful, innovative spaces and then start to draw connections to their lives and get access to the healthy food that's grown on these farms. And so that's really an important piece of that. So Brooklyn Grange Rooftop Farms are City Growers outdoor classrooms, and we welcome students and families from all across the city. As I said, there are 3 farms in total, 1 in Queens, 2 in Brooklyn. And the 2 in Brooklyn, there's 1 at the Brooklyn Navy Yard and another in Sunset Park above the Bed Bath & Beyond, right adjacent to Industry City. And if you're able to go on to the next slide.
I'm sorry, is this the correct?
This is the this is the agenda we're looking at.
Yeah,
we got switched somehow.
Yeah. Just give it one moment.
Okay. And while we're waiting, I will say, the majority of the schools that we are working with are Title I schools, and but there's a variety of schools that we do work with, and this is again a part of the equity is a sliding scale fee structure that we have for our programs. So a Title I school will pay a different fee than a private school, although even though they're paying a different fee, the quality of the curriculum remains the same across the board. It's just a way of redistributing some of the resources. Some PTAs are able to fundraise in different ways than others. So what we do is try to, redistribute those resources. And there's even sister school relationships that we're able to set up where one school can pay for another school's field trips and things like that. So that's very important. So here's an example of the farm being used as a classroom. This is one of our educators conducting a workshop. And yeah, really at the core of what we do also is just getting youth excited about food, health, and nature. And that's, a first step into thinking about, what green jobs might look like for them in the future and what things they can imagine if the founders of Brooklyn Grange can put a farm on a roof just based on an idea, a crazy idea that they had, bringing young people to that farm, then it begs the question, what can the young people come up with, after seeing this farm? So it takes it, a step further. And so we are a Department of Education vendor for schools. So that's another way that schools can access our programs for free. And our programs are all based in STEM education, which connects directly to K through 12 curriculum. And we provide single visit options as well as multi-visit options for schools. And there's a variety of content that is specific to what each farm offers to the community that it's located within. And this can include tasting, smelling, exploring city growers' learning beds on the farms, meeting our chickens, meeting our honeybees and our worms, and learning about compost, and also visiting a working hydroponic greenhouse. So lots there to talk about with the kids, and lots of connections to different jobs throughout the city that make these spaces possible. All right, great. So let's go on to the next slide. So urban ecology and pollinator education schools is really a big part of what we do. And when we talk about ecology, we're talking about our urban ecosystem in New York City. And really, when you talk about an urban ecosystem, the most important part of that ecosystem is the people who cultivate and care for the nature in the ecosystem. And of course, that means our youth and our families are the most important part of the ecosystem. Because if you're going to have a rooftop farm, for example, or a community garden, it's not going to thrive or cultivate food for the community unless people are there to take care of it. So that's why, youth are such an important piece of the ecosystem around us. And again, I mean, connecting young people to all these things, we do this by bringing them to the farms, but also we bring the farm into the classrooms. So we offer workshops in the classrooms. We do residencies with the schools. We build school gardens, and sometimes this looks like a beautiful green space in the backyard of the school. Sometimes it looks like planters in a parking lot. Either way, we're able to make thriving environments with the schools and meet them where they're at with the resources that they have. We also do residencies to install beehives in schools. We have a beehive that we just installed a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, on PS 90 in Coney Island. And that's a really exciting residency where we train the teachers and the parents to be beekeepers and keep the hive with the students, which is really exciting. We have a couple other schools that we've done this with as well. And they're now at a point where they're doing the beekeeping all by themselves. And that's really the goal when we do these residencies, is to get the school to a place where they can maintain these spaces on their own, with just using us as like a reference if they have any questions, because really that's what it's all about, getting the families involved and taking ownership. So let's move on to the next slide. So this summer is going to be all about planting and pollinating, as it is for most summers with us. And we have one of our very important programs that connect to the pollinator work is our Brooklyn Bee Corps program, which is a teen beekeeper apprenticeship program. And really, this is a program that really is a great example of how all our programs are a part of a continuum. So the Brooklyn Bee Corps members are high school students who then teach our young summer campers and conduct workshops in the communities. And so, there's a lot of peer-to-peer education going on that's really a powerful point for social emotional learning development. And so really, it becomes, City Growers has its own ecosystem within the urban ecosystem of New York, and pollinator health is really at the core of a lot of it, especially for our work in Brooklyn. And, thinking about these ways that we connect with schools, these are really wonderful ways that city council members have worked with us in the past, and ways that city council members can reach out to your constituents to provide some of these resources by, offering to support City Growers Workshop, whether it's, a couple of in-school workshops or a residency. There's lots of different ways to get your constituents involved in working with city growers so that they can have these benefits and the impact that I spoke to earlier. So let's go on to the next slide. So family farm days are a really big part of what's going to be happening for us this summer. In addition to being a vendor for summer rising programs that we know are a really exciting part of what's happening for young people this summer, City Growers will definitely be working with those programs. And then on the weekends, what we'll be doing is hosting family farm days. And in Brooklyn, we host a family farm day on Sundays from the summer into the fall. Our first family farm day, which we would love for you all to come to if you can, it'll be at that Sunset Park farm, and it'll be on May 23rd. And it's going to be a plant sale. The Brooklyn Grange will be selling their plant starts, and City Growers will be doing what we do best, getting families really excited about the farm, getting them engaged with the farm, giving tours with young people and their families. So we invite all of you to come to that, or to reach out to us to come and visit the farm on another time that might work better for you. And the last slide is my contact information. So if you are interested in hearing about our funding history with City Council discretionary funding, or if you're interested in just asking more questions that might not get covered here, or you want to come visit, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out. We love having visitors and we love talking about our work. So please feel free to reach out. And I'm sorry that I went very fast, but I'm trying to leave room for any questions. So
Thank you.
So that about sums it up for me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. We open the floor up to questions. Do we have any questions from the board? Members of the board? Don't see any hand raised.
I have a question.
All right.
Sure.
Jeff Sandler, first vice chair, CB13.
Oh.
Okay. I know that Grady High School has a horticultural program. Do you get involved with this here? And, for question number one, and I'll put the question number two out. Coney Island, I feel, is a food desert community. And do you bring any of the vegetables or whatever you grow into the communities to make sure that that they're eating healthy?
These are great questions. So the first question was about a specific high school that I don't believe we work with currently, but as I mentioned, there are lots of new relationships being formed every year. So we would love, I'm writing down that high school now, I'm going to remember it. And if there are any schools in particular that you all would like us to connect with, please do let us know so we can form those relationships. And then the question about the food access, especially in places like Coney Island that are food deserts. So we don't run the produce production of the farm. The Brooklyn Grange operates as a separate entity. So City Growers is just the education piece that's bringing young people to the farm. And the farm, though, does have subsidized CSA shares and green markets and bringing food into communities. That is a big part of the mission of the farm, and City Growers is a lot of the catalyst that makes that possible. But I can't say that we're specifically doing that all across Coney Island yet. But with this new relationship with PS90 and seeing what's possible, their school is an example of like a beautiful roof that's just like untapped space to be growing different things. And with the honeybees up there now, they can pollinate the things. So it's about thinking creatively with the schools, listening to what the community already has. It's because some communities already have like certain efforts already going, and then seeing how we can add to that and enhance it and bring more food to these spaces and work with the farm to do that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I just was wondering if you can, get together with some other people and get a farmers market into Coney Island with the vegetables and fruits, etc. It would be a wonderful
I would love
idea.
to. I think that's a great idea. I would love to talk with the farm about bringing a market there, and then bringing City Growers to connect with the families. I think that's a really fantastic idea. If you have any resources that I should look to, feel free to email me, or I can write them down now if you want to mention any of them.
No, I'll email you.
Yep, or you could
Okay,
drop it
great.
in the chat. You're welcome to drop it in the chat. See, community board, you're welcome to drop it in the chat. See community board 14, then CB 17.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. My question is relating to the B Corps members and how you recruit them, because we would love to invite you to our youth conference on May 19th. The youth conference basically is providing opportunities for our district youth ages 14 to 22, and this sounds like a really good fit.
Sounds like a great fit. Yes. So we have traditionally worked with schools near the Navy Yard to recruit these high school students. But what we're trying this year, I have someone I'm talking to at HRA, in fact, is trying to identify organizations or other groups of young people to reach out to a more broad audience of this, because there's a lot of different spaces that the Brooklyn B Corps can work within. This year, I will be honest, this is going to be a very small cohort of Brooklyn B Corps, because City Growers is, as so many nonprofits, doing a lot of rebuilding after the impact of COVID-19 and the impact that it had on our discretionary funding. But I would love to connect with you. If you could please send me an email, that would be great, so we could look to your group and do some recruitment there. It just sounds like perfect.
CB 17, and could you drop your contact in the chat where they could? Yes, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this presentation. I had a couple questions. I might have missed it. I do apologize if I did. But in terms of the summer of pollinating, is there a particular scope of programming? Is there a particular cost for that programming? I think is that the B Corps that you're referring to just then?
Well, this
so
summer,
is there a particular, yeah.
So I didn't mention this, but Brooklyn B Corps, and this is like an extremely important, maybe this was implied, but a very important part of it is that the young people who are recruited and work in the Brooklyn B Corps are paid an hourly wage. So they're paid $15 an hour for all of their work with City Growers, which includes field trips and training and beekeeping and, you know, all of these things. So, and that's really important because we want young people to make that choice. Like if there's a choice between, you know, a job like a retail job, a low paying job that they're not quite interested in, and this job, we want them to have that opportunity to follow their passion. So that's one. And then in terms of the cost for the other programs, so I mentioned that we have a sliding scale fee structure, which ranges from free all the way up to, you know, competitive workshop prices for schools and groups that might be able to afford it. So we do have this different eligibility for free programming that's important. And really, we try to, the majority of our program, about 85% of our programming is done with Title I schools or programs along the same level. And there's a minimal amount that's done with private schools for the purposes of subsidizing the Title I school. So you kind of have to have both to make it all work. And then, of course, since we are a DOE vendor, a lot of schools pay us through purchase order. So like coming out of their field trip budget and things like that, but that's another way that schools do pay us. And then the family farm days, this summer is unique. So there's the Summer Rising program, which is a new thing that we're all learning about. And so City Grows, there's a component of that that's about enrichment activities and social emotional learning, which is our bread and butter. That's what we do. So we are qualified as a local field trip site, so schools that can walk to the farms. And we also are equipped to go to the schools and bring the kids to a nearby park if they're not near one of the farms. So we're excited to be a vendor for those. We want to try to, you know, make sure we're getting the word out that we're available to do are, you know, going back in person. And then the family farm days this summer, those are free. And those are going to be at the Brooklyn Grange Farms. And there's also a site along the waterfront in Williamsburg, one of these sites that's being developed by Two Trees. So there's an interim use space that we will be doing pollinator programming at this summer, along with some other wonderful nonprofits. So we're going to be around doing a lot of different things. And really what we recommend, people can go to our website to find out about the different offerings, but we're such a small team that really people can reach out to me directly and I can connect you with the right person, because we're all kind of we're doing that thing where we're wearing all the hats.
So my final question.
Yeah.
So are you a SYEP site, or are you accessing different funding?
So we are usually an SYEP work site. Since I mentioned impact of funding that we experienced, we normally have a summer camp in Sunset Park that is an SYP site. We're not able to do that this year because of funding. However, we are full force making sure to get the funding back for summer of 2022, which we're really excited about, and return to being an SYP work site. We know that Sunset Park is like a really important place to get free summer camp to, and also we're partnered with Center for Family Life, and they connect us with young people who do the SYP program with us. And Brooklyn B Corps is, this year we're not gonna be able to have enough hours to be SYP, but we are working to try and have our hours be outside of the SYP program. So maybe young people could do both, or, you know, have a way to like combine the two. So we're aware of that schedule this year.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any questions from the public? With that being said, this concludes our presentation with City Growers. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for leaving information in the chat. We do have city planning that I do have to present, and I'm sure everyone will have lots of questions. So before we get to city planning, we'd like to go back to our first item on the agenda, which is to adopt the minutes from April 5th, 2021. Karen, are you on? Karen? See if she can hear me.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, wonderful. So make sure you're there. So copies of the minutes were sent to all members of the board. Does anyone have any corrections? And I do know someone did note a correction. Is CB 14 or 13? 13?
CB 13.
Okay, can you note the correction, please, for the record?
Yes, the first, the chair, Lucy Acevedo, was at the last meeting and wasn't on the attendance record. So please correct that.
Thank you. Thank you for knowing that for the record. Any other corrections? Is there a motion?
Joan Alexander Bacardine moves to accept the meeting minutes for the
Yeah.
April meeting.
I hate to
Alice Fuller,
interrupt.
second.
Oh, no.
Joanna,
Yes.
you haven't taken the role to establish a quorum.
Ah.
So
Teresa.
how do we adopt the minutes?
Well, we don't adopt the minutes, so we're going to backtrack. We're going to backtrack, and then I'm going to have Karen, because we have everyone here, before we do that, and call the roll. Thank you, Teresa.
No problem.
Okay, I'm gonna start with the community boards.
Oh, hold on 1 second, Karen. And Michelle, are you on? She's not, I think she's in the office, but just to be on, Michelle? Okay, you can go ahead, Karen.
Okay. All right, I'll start with CB1,
Present.
CB2,
Present.
CB3,
Richard Flatteau, chairperson, present.
CB4, CB5, CB6, CB7,
Present.
Community Board 8,
Ethel Tyus, chair, present, along with Irsa Witherspoon for CB8. Thank you.
Community Board 9,
Baptiste, CB9 chair, present.
Community Board 10,
Present.
Community Board 11, Community Board 12,
Iris Spitzer, district manager, present.
Community Board 13,
Jeff Samler, first vice chair, present.
Community Board 14,
Joanne Brown, chair, present.
Community Board 15,
Teresa Scavo, chair, present.
Community Board 16,
Janice Morgan, chair, present.
Community Board 17,
Joan Alexander Bacardine, chair, present.
Community Board 18. Okay. Councilmember Barron. Councilmember Cornegie.
Ian Fullerton from Councilmember Cornegie's office, present.
Councilmember Cumbo. Councilmember Diaz. Councilmember Eugene. Councilmember Brannon. Councilmember
Michael Sheldon for Councilmember Brannon, present. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. Thank you. Councilmember Yeager. Councilmember Lander.
Present for Councilmember Lander.
Councilmember Levin. Councilmember Mizell.
Jonathan Alene, present for Councilmember Mizell.
Councilmember Ampry Samuel.
Emma Robinson, present for Councilmember Samuel.
Councilmember Menchaca.
Ting Lin, present for Councilmember Menchaca.
Councilmember Reynoso. Councilmember Traeger. Councilmember Lewis. And representing Borough President.
Present. Serrano Purcell. Okay.
Excuse me,
so we'll-
Karen?
Yes?
Sorry. I'm here, Arna Lipkin, representing Councilmember Combo.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I see Christia Winter and Matthew Pitt from Councilmember Lewis's office. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what's
I
going
saw
on.
them earlier as well.
Yeah.
Christia or Matthew?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll give Karen a minute to tally.
Yes, we have 22 members present, so we do have quorum.
Oh, thank you for that. So we are looking to adopt the minutes from April 5th,
So
right?
Joan Alexander Bacardine moves to adopt the minutes from April 5th's meeting. Thank
With
you.
the corrections, yes.
With the noted corrections, I do apologize, with the noted corrections.
Second?
Teresa Scavo, Community Board, 15 seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Anyone abstain? With that being said, the motion has been approved. The minutes from April 5th have been accepted and will be adopted. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation for city planning. So this month I'm doing my script off my phone because my printer, so I'm scrolling. So give me one moment. Okay. So our third item on the agenda is a presentation by New York City Department of Planning regarding citywide hotel zoning text amendment proposal. Representatives from New York City Department of City Planning are here this afternoon to present the intended zoning regulations that will further regulate hotels in the city through the introduction of special permit review requirements to permit the locations of hotels citywide as an expansion of geographic where such special permits have been recently required in most high manufacturing designated districts. Many had witnessed that the new hotels have outpaced other types of non-residential development in some parts of the city. In some cases, this have altered patterns of activities in communities shared by other businesses, area residents. I'm sorry, there is a noise. I don't know if anyone, if you can mute. Yeah, noise in the background. Thank you. Community shared, other business. Is it my line? Can you hear me?
There
No,
appears
it's
to
not
be
yours.
someone by the name of Jonah that he's for some reason you're echoing
Planning?
through him. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You just yeah, thank you. In communities shared by other businesses, area residents, and visitors, city planning is now seeking recommendations from community boards and borough boards. The intent is to require the granting of a special permit based on site-specific review by the City Planning Commissioner for hotels to open commercial zoning districts based on consideration of the proposed hotel potential for adverse effects and use of development in the surrounding areas. Before it could be established towards ensuring the new hotel development, including enlargements, would not create significant conflict of the surrounding developments, the action is to create a consistent, predictable rule of approach to hotel development citywide. The proposed zoning text amendment is being presented tonight. The representatives will take questions from the Borough Board and be given 60 days for that item to be referred to the Community Board and Borough Board, as it's a means to allow for community boards ample time to consider this matter. It has not been determined whether there will be an opportunity for the Borough Board to take official position, as this will likely require holding a meeting in July. After the presentation, the presenters will be able to take any questions from board members. Please welcome from the Department of City Planning. And before I introduce him, I'd like to note that on the line, we also have our Director of Land Use, Richard Burke, who's also here as well. Please let us welcome Jonah Rogoff, Office of Planners, and his colleague to the floor. So you can introduce yourself. Jonah, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks, Rana.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So the floor is all yours. You can introduce yourself and begin your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I see quite a few familiar faces. I think some of you, I see Ethel from Community Board 8 and a few others. For those who don't know me, my name is Jonah. I'm a planner with the Brooklyn office. I'm also joined by Anthony Grande, also with the Brooklyn office, and Alex Ander Plakis, who is the project manager for the Citywide hotels proposal. So we're excited to be here today to present the proposal. As I'm sure some of you are aware, we just recently referred out the proposal. So it's just starting the public review period. We can talk more about that process later. And I think, Anthony, if you're able to share your screen.
Yep. I just wanted to say hi, and I will turn off my video and share.
Great. So as Sarana mentioned, you did a great introduction, but we're here to present a citywide zoning text amendment that would create a new special permit by the City Planning Commission for hotel development across the city. And it really is has two goals. The first goal is to create a consistent framework for hotels across the city, and also ensure that new hotels don't negatively affect the surrounding area. You can go to the next slide. So before diving into the proposal, we just want to provide some background specifically on the city's hotel market. So, sorry, yeah, I can do that slide. So by 2019, before the pandemic hit, the city experienced record growth in the tourism industry and its hotel pipeline. Visitor trends peaked in 2019 with almost 67 million visitors, which is up from 46 million in 2009. And a similar trend, the supply of hotel rooms steadily increased alongside that growth within the past decade. Between 2009 and 2019, the total number of hotel rooms in the city grew from just over 80,000 to almost 128,000, which represented a 40% increase in the inventory just over the past 5 years. Despite this increase in the hotel room supply, demand also continued to rise. We estimate the annual occupancy to be around 87% for the pandemic, which was also one of the highest for urban markets comparing to other cities around the US. Next slide. So over the past few years, the rapid growth of new hotels has led to concerns about land use conflicts, specifically with neighboring uses. Some of you may recall in 2018, we also presented a citywide text amendment, which was adopted that year, that created a special permit for hotels in M1 districts or light manufacturing areas to address conflicts between hotels and the operation of industrial businesses. Next slide. So to address concerns around hotels, the city planning commission department has adopted a variety of permits, special permits, which apply in different special districts. And this has really created a patchwork of different rules and resulted in more of an ad hoc, inconsistent framework. And as you can see here in the map, the purple represents the M1 districts. And then within a few special districts, we've applied the hotels special permit, but they have different findings and different provisions applied to them. Next slide. So as I mentioned at the beginning, and this is just a view of the hotels across the city as of January 2020. The purpose of this proposal is really to ensure a consistent zoning framework that would support more predictable development for hotels. This would allow the CPC to evaluate each hotel's development, its impact on the future use and development within the surrounding area. In commercial and mixed use or MX districts, we find that hotels have introduced conflicts with surrounding uses. Overnight accommodations can really differ from other as of right uses like residential or commercial, and pose conflicts with both. This unique distinction for hotels may require additional scrutiny to ensure that they're developed in ways that won't present conflicts with the neighborhood and local businesses. Next slide, please. So just to help illustrate what we mean by those conflicts, they really vary by the neighborhood context and zoning districts. I've already mentioned the conflicts with light manufacturing or industrial areas. Several commercial districts or C districts also have hotels in areas where there can be conflicts with nearby businesses. These can be in the upper left corner is a C8 district, which shows a cemetery or heavy service uses. And in many regards, the site can be planned in a way that may be unsafe for both guests and residents of the area. And then another view of on the bottom left of C62 district, which is a central business district, as an example where a hotel was built in a long-standing residential area or that immediate context. And the hotel has a little room for guests to queue while checking in or waiting outside, which created pedestrian traffic for both guests and residents as they try to walk. And then on the bottom right is a view of a hotel in the Rockaways in Queens, where better site planning may have led to a wider sidewalk. The current sidewalk leading to the beach is really narrow and can push pedestrians into the street, causing safety concerns for guests and residents. Next slide, please. So the proposed special permit would be applicable in all commercial districts where hotels would apply. These are generally concentrated in higher density commercial parts of the city, including the central business districts or regional commercial areas. The proposal would also apply to mixed use districts. Those are the light manufacturing districts paired with residential districts. And then where there are mixed use districts that are not technically mixed use, but are part of a special district, this would also apply there as well. And this would apply too in areas where there is already a hotel special permit. So we're trying to create a more consistent framework for those. And just a quick note too, that because the M1 hotel special permit relates to industrial areas and had specific findings to minimize conflicts there, we would keep the same findings for the M1 hotel special permit. Next slide. And just a view of where this would apply in Brooklyn. So the gray areas just show where there's already a special permit applied. Those are the M1 areas. And then the magenta colored areas are, those are the generally the C4 or higher density commercial districts. where the special permit would apply. Next slide. So this is I know this is a topic of concern that came up when we presented the M1 proposal. So similar to that one, we would not require a special permit for hotels that are for a public purpose, such as temporary housing for the homeless. This means that rules for the siting of homeless facilities will not change and will continue to be permitted as of right in districts where they are currently allowed. While we do understand the concerns, this proposal is really intended to address the land use concerns for commercial hotels and is neutral with current policies regarding homelessness. Next slide. New York City hotels provide an important amenity for all New Yorkers, and for this reason, they've been long permitted without regulation throughout much of the city. Hotels serve a diverse set of customers in all 5 boroughs, from tourists in Manhattan or Midtown, airline workers in Jamaica, Queens, to visitors coming from hospitals or other medical institutions, and also just family and relatives who are visiting New York City neighborhoods. While it's important that hotels continue to locate throughout the city to support the tourist economy and meet the diverse needs of our residents and businesses, the pace and pattern of development driven by record high visitation has created conflicts with adjacent uses and overwhelmed some committees. So as an example, the image here shows the front and back of a hotel in the South Bronx. It's located in an M15 moderate density manufacturing district near Yankee Stadium and is an appropriate location for a hotel. However, access to the hotel is on a busy access road along the major Deegan expressway, a local arterial highway with an entrance that presents safety issues for pedestrians and guests of the hotel. The parking and back of house services at the rear are also located on a quiet residential block. And this just highlights an example of how we can review the way the use is configured on a site so that it's more sensitive to the surrounding context and results in less conflicts and safety issues for guests, residents, and other businesses. I also want to note that the proposed special permit does not preclude hotel development, nor does it deem all future hotels inappropriate. It's more of a measure to require the CPC, along with the community boards and city council, to assess the appropriateness of the development for a hotel based on the use and land uses within the surrounding area. Next slide, please. So now I'd just like to briefly talk about the recent impacts of the pandemic on the hotel industry and the ways that we've modified or updated our proposal to address these challenges. The pandemic has had a huge effect on the hotel market. Between January and November of 2020, a net total of 146 hotels and over 42,000 rooms have closed. Luxury and upscale room types account for around 85% of this loss. And then the city's independent budget office, IBO, estimates that around 197 jobs in 2020 were lost in the overall hospitality and leisure industry. This impact on the hotel industry has been significant, but there is optimism that the city will recover and visitors will return. With that return in demand, the Department of City Planning anticipates development to return to pre-pandemic levels. We think it will take a few years at least, but this will lead to a need for a special permit allowing for better regulation. Next slide. But that being said, we care about how this would affect the city's recovery. And as a consequence, we've updated our proposal to minimize the likelihood that the special permit will really hamper that recovery of the hotel industry. And these include a modified vesting provision to facilitate projects that are already in the pipeline. So aging projects or perm projects that are filed with DOB before 2018 would need to obtain a foundation permit prior to adoption. Projects filed between the beginning of 2018 and the referral, the date yesterday when the commission referred out the proposal, would need to obtain a zoning plan approval from DOP prior to adoption. And then both categories of vesting projects would have 6 years to complete their project instead of the standard 2 years from the date of adoption to complete construction. Approved city planning or BSA applications will not require a special permit if these applications were approved after January of 2018. Applications that begin CPC public review or filed with the BSA prior to adoption will also not require a special permit. Finally, we are proposing to extend the discontinuance provision, allowing vacant hotels extra time to return. The usual discontinuance allows for a building that has been vacant for 2 years to reopen with its previous use. We're proposing to extend that to 6 years to allow some flexibility for closed hotels to reopen. Next slide, please. And as far as environmental review, a draft environmental impact statement or DEIS and market study were completed to better understand what the projected loss in hotel rooms would mean for the industry. Findings of the study and the DEIS show that we expect sufficient inventory by 2030 to support the amount of pre-pandemic visitors. However, I do want to note that because the special permit is expected to slow the growth of new hotels, we expect that compared to a no action scenario or not moving forward with the proposal, there would not be enough rooms to meet demand by 2035, leading to a shortfall in 47,000 rooms. Because of the future shortfall of rooms and the potential effects on visitation, the DEIS is showing a significant adverse impact on the hotel and tourism industries. Next slide. So to get to the meat of the proposal, this is just showing the version of the text. So the top paragraph is just framing what parts of the city hotels apply to, the zoning districts, and the principal finding for the special permit relates to minimizing adverse effects on the character of the surrounding area and ensuring that the proposed use will not impair the future use or development in the surrounding area. So it's really tied to the surrounding or immediate uses. Next slide. So that concludes our presentation. I just want to end on a note on process. As I mentioned, the proposal was referred out yesterday. There's about a 10-day period where we prepare the full application, and we'll be distributing that to all community boards, borough presidents, and city council members. And then the ULURP, it's not technically a ULURP application, but it follows a similar time period we anticipate. So we anticipate the community boards will have, it'll be referred out for 60 days. And then following that, it'll come back to the borough president, then the city planning commission, and finally the city council.
Okay.
And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Yep. So I'm going to take the opportunity to hand it over to Richard. You have some questions, and then we'll take it to the board. And then, yeah.
Afternoon. So as hotels operated for a public purpose by the city or under contract with the city would be exempt from the special permit requirement as a means to accommodate temporary housing, or to shelter homeless families and individuals, right? So in such instances, what percentage of hotel rooms would be required to be designated for public purpose for such hotels to be constructed as of right? And what would happen to the certificate of occupancy should such contract not be continued?
That's a good question. I think I just want to start off by saying that the purpose of the proposal is for commercial hotels. So whenever an applicant comes to us to apply, they have to demonstrate a proposal for a hotel, not for a homeless shelter, if that makes sense. So I just want to make that really clear. As far as specific contracts, I think we'd like to take that back, but I would just say that the city's homeless DHS, the Homeless Services Department, has a emergency mandate to house the homeless, and so that applies not just for hotels, but for other types of use as well. So we're not intending to change that, but we obviously want to work with our agency partners on this proposal. We do anticipate that homeless shelters and hotels this could serve as a disincentive, because if you have to, apply for a special permit, put forth an application, that can take a significant amount of time itself and risk for an owner or developer. So I guess, we can get back to you on the technical details, but I just want to frame that just as far as the purpose of the proposal. So we'll get back to you, Richard. It's a good question.
And I think when you go around to the community boards, if you could address that as well when you do your presentations to individual boards, that's probably a concern for many boards.
Understood.
Richard, any other questions, Richard? Nope. Okay. We'll take it to the board, Community Board 8.
Thank you. This is Ethel Tias. I did put the question in the chat. I think part of it has been answered already. The question is, would DCP expand on the likelihood of the use of hotels to house the homeless given the current state of the economy? And I think the answer was very broad-based and relies on the court order for the city of New York, I believe the state of New York, to shelter all of the homeless. So where in that construct would DCP draw lines for the citing or proving the construction of a new hotel or the conversion of a hotel to a homeless shelter? If you could dive into that one, I'd appreciate it. Jonah, you're muted.
Jonah, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so from a procedural standpoint, if an applicant comes to us for a hotel special permit, what we're reviewing, what the commission's reviewing, what you would be reviewing as community boards is for a hotel. And so that, when that review occurs, my sense is that we would closely scrutinize the proposal. We would consider the surrounding land uses. After a hotel is approved, I don't have a crystal ball. I hope we do as best as we can to support the homeless population. But in that instance, if there's a need to house homeless in that hotel, it would be permitted by the city's, by the state's mandate, as you said, Ethel. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from the board? I don't see any in the chat. I don't see any hands.
This is Fred Baptiste from CB9. I just wanted to confirm, so from a process standpoint, this is going to be going out after 60 days to the community boards?
That's
Or
correct.
when would community boards actually receive this? Because I think, if we're looking at the clock from right about now, I think 60 days puts us probably in the middle of the summer. And, so what is the process in that sense? How long does the boards have to actually respond to that?
I'm checking the calendar right now. I believe the review starts on May 12th or May 14th. Just checking.
Yeah, just to jump in here, the referral period starts when the community board or when the city planning commission hears the item. There's a few days that we have to prepare the package to send to all of the boards, which is why the referral period didn't start yesterday when it was heard at the commission. So Jonah's just looking to confirm the actual start date of the review, which would be probably next week. Which just gives time for all of the boards to receive the materials that we send out.
Because my concern is still that, if it's 60, so is it a 60-day review period the boards have it for?
Yeah, starting from next
right in
week,
the middle of the summer.
60 days.
That would put us in the middle of the summer, and most of us I know at least for my board, we're on hiatus at that period. So I'm not exactly sure in terms of how we respond at that point.
I would say so I just checked the calendar. It's May 12th when the CB's clock officially starts. For other types of text amendments, even if the board's clock ends on by mid-July, we would still accept recommendations until generally at least until the City Planning Commission public hearing, and even after that. So there's a bit more flexibility as part of the citywide text amendment process because it's not a ULURP proposal. So there's less of a, I don't want to say there's no clock because it's important to submit. But if the board needs additional time during the summer, we would be accommodating to that.
Yeah, I just want to point out that the City Planning Commission, unlike ULURP, does not have a clock, which gives them the opportunity if they wanted to refine the text. So based on their public hearing input would affect, for example, would they seek to modify the text or would they move forward? So that it gives them the flexibility, unlike ULURP. And then again, this goes to the city council. So if community boards are not able to weigh in for the commission's consideration, there's still an opportunity to weigh in before the city council has their opportunity to review this.
Any other questions from the board members?
Actually, this is Joan Bacardine. I just want to make sure that you made note of my request to share the response to the transient hotel conversion question with all of the boards.
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any other questions for members of the boards. Are there any questions for members? Yes? Okay. I think someone's trying to speak. Any questions?
I think you're getting a little bit of feedback from Jonah's microphone.
From Jonah? Jonah, can you mute for a minute? Can you just, thank you. Any questions from the board and members of the public? Any board members? Okay. I do not see any further questions at this time. Any questions from the public? Nope. So the board will be asked to take a position on this matter. This concludes our business with city planning for this evening. Just a reminder, the board will be asked to take a position on this matter and conduct a hearing on this item at a July meeting. We don't have a planned meeting for July. As the zoning text has been officially referred to the effective boards, we want to encourage all the boards to coordinate accordingly to make sure presentations are made and had in regards to this item. With that being said, I would like to thank City Planning for presenting tonight, and I'm sure they'll be in contact with all of the 18 Brooklyn CVs. Richard, is anything further on this item? Oh, you're mute. You're on. What's going on today? You're muted, Richard. Huh? Richard. Oh, Richard.
I had to pull up the other screen.
Yeah.
When there's new business, I have an item to just share.
Okay, wonderful. So Jonah, Anthony, thank you for joining us this evening. That concludes our business with city planning. We're going to move on to the next item on the board. Do we have any, I'm going to just switch it around. I'm sure it's not a problem. Do we have any new business? I know, Richard, you have a new item that you want to discuss with the board?
Sure. So I just wanted to share that yesterday, Borough President Adams released a letter in regard to our senior centers. You know, if you don't think about it the same way, but senior centers do provide meals. And when they provide them in their facilities, given social distancing, they really can't serve as many people as they have been designed in the past. So Borough President Adams looked at the model that restaurants are using to have sidewalk areas and curbside areas be designated for seating. So he wrote a letter to DOT Commissioner Henry Gutman to suggest that as part of the Open Streets Initiative, that consideration be given to having opportunities for senior centers similar to what is being provided for restaurants. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you for that. And I see there's a question. Jeff, you have a...
Yes, thank you, Sarana. I'd like to know if any of the board members have a process for employee evaluations and if they have any templates that they use, a sample template that they can send to Community Board 13, attention, district manager. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also, I think I was CC'd on one of those emails. If you want, you could also have your district manager touch base with Melanie in the office, just in case. You know, if you may want to give that a go too as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any unfinished business? I have a couple of unfinished business items. The first item is in regards to the board had inquired from last meeting guidance on term limits. We do have a response from the charter. It just has to be edited and it will be sent out to the board. Tanya has a response. Either I will send it out or Tanya will send it out because I know that question came up last time regarding term limits for the boards. So it's guidance as dictated by the city charter. So you'll get that. The second item of unfinished business I want to note on, and I think Mr. Camacho, as you guys know, there was a pilot program that was launched, which allowed commanding officers to be reviewed and approved by the community. And not last meeting, but a few meetings back, it was expressed by the board the fact that community boards didn't have a voice. They had a precinct council. To date, they are allowing community board chairs to sit on the committee to interview commanding officer candidates. Currently now there's 2 pilot programs. So so you guys know there's a 75th pilot program and also Mr. Camacho, who was on the line in the 83rd. So they launched a pilot program. It's not perfect. The committee consists of that'll consist of the community board chair. So in the future, you may be asked to sit on a committee as a chairperson, precinct council president, a business owner at that precinct council, as well as a community member too as well. So that process is undergoing the way with 2 of those precincts. We have our concerns with some of the process and procedures and the timeline of it, but we're working through it and we'll be sharing our feedback regarding these 2 items on the pilot program. Mr. Camacho, do you want to? Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, I'm sorry. I just want to thank the borough president and everyone in the borough office, because I remember when we signed a petition, because when they came up with it, there were discrepancies on how they would get it started. So I just want to make sure that I tip my hats off to you guys to make sure that we have a voice, especially the community that the precinct is in stake of or around there, that everyone knows who they're commanding and have a choice to pick someone, and not someone that is not gonna know what the community is all about in regards to its culture or the area, or how, you know, some places wanna have officers, commanding officers to tell their members to go gun-ho on the community. Some members want them to, you know, relax on some of these things. So I guess this is an opportunity for all of us to get involved and make sure that we're all our stakeholders and make sure that we pick the right person. You know, we're all not perfect, and I just hope that I went through this process. Now I'm going to submit my forms now, but I just hope that if we do choose someone, that they don't use this as a scapegoat like they always do, and make sure that they get the person that we want, and not they turn around after we went through all this and turn around and pick whoever they want and do what they want, because it'll be unfair, and I guess it won't be a good process. Because if you choose someone and everybody's for it, and you turn around and someone choose somebody else, then I guess that's the problem. That means it's not working. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Camacho. And Mr. Camacho, I know you're tired of me. So you've been hearing from me for the weekend.
Yeah, I know. Now, I see you more than I see my wife, man. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Okay. And one other item. So just an update in regards to community boards reappointments. So where we are at in the process is that we would like to aim for March the 15th. On our end, we already have started reviewing, processing. We don't have everyone's paperwork in. I do count anyone that's missing. It's only a few, so please get it in because we are processing the reappointments without the paperwork. So if we don't receive it, the process is happening right now. The deadline has passed. If it's not received, the paperwork will be processed accordingly. The boards will receive a membership list, and those seats that are not seek for recommendation will remain vacant. And then so that's going to be what that's where we're going to stand in regards to that, because I know people are reaching out, and you have your meetings in June, and you have your elections. So that's where we kind of stand now. So we have been, for the past few weeks, this is what we have been working on. So if you know that you're missing it, you could get it in. We have been working around what we have been missing, what we have not received. Okay? So thank you for that. With that being said, is there, that concludes our meeting for tonight.
Hi, Serena.
Any other unfinished business? Any questions?
Hi,
Go ahead.
Hi, Serena. So I just wanted to just ask a question with regards to the reappointments. In the past, there have been people who have had poor attendance, have been reappointed. Are you all reviewing the attendance records and considering not reappointing people who have poor attendance, irregardless of the fact that they've submitted a reappointment application? It really is a barrier to, being progressive in our boards. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And it really is a discouraging factor for, those of us who have been committed and who come to actually do the work and understand our responsibilities as board members. It's a disservice. And so I really hope that and ask that you all thoroughly review those attendance records and not reappoint people that have not showed up to meetings.
And I second. And I second. Yes, and I second that, because it behooves that we're supposed to be together, and we don't want nobody walking around and, yeah, I'm on the board, but yet you don't come to meetings and you don't do anything. Then what good are you if you're just saying you're on the board? If you're on the board, you need to be there and come to your meetings and come to your committee meetings. And we need to echo that and push that, because if we don't, then we're going to have people just sitting around and not helping, and some people are going to be working more than others.
Okay. So for we don't review the committee meetings. We review the attendance sheets, and we also ask, that during the process that we do give a standard for attendance. In regards to, there's only 25 seats that's up this year, but we do sometimes we have to take requests for hardships, and sometimes that comes directly from the board if someone had a particular hardship or health, and some of you may know that. But we do flag for the attendance, And we do also send out warning letters on the cuff of if someone's reappointed and their attendance is kind of like on the cuff. So we take all that into consideration because every board is different, but we do have a set standard that we try our best to. We're not perfect, but we do try. And I know we have reached out and we kind of, and board members have reached out and say, we transitioned to Zoom this year, so attendance wasn't that great and all that kind of stuff. So we just need to kind of note that. We have gotten, you know, we have gotten questions or concerns in regards to board members who people feel like, oh, they were absent, but they're very, you know, active, you know, they had a health reason. If you know there's a scenario with you in particular, you know, reach out, let us know. We have, you know, we have had those questions and inquiries, and we'll do our best to make sure that we try to do a smooth process. But I thank you both, Ms. Morgan and Mr. Camacho, for sharing that. And I think CB13 also have agreed in the chat too as well. So.
I just want to say something as well. I know that there are some boards that have bylaws, and I would encourage you to also implement attendance as a consequence if you are absent than more than X amount of times, that you'll be subject to be removed from the board. And that has happened with a few boards where we received letters saying that the board member did not attend at the requirement that was set by the board, and they were removed. So that would be another way in order to safeguard, you know, keeping the community board as active as possible. But as Savannah has said, you know, we do look at the attendance and, you know, we try to appoint people who are active.
Yeah. But before you even start, it's on the city charter. So if you look on the city charter, it tells you your absence and it tells you what the criteria are and how much you have and how much you don't. So they don't have to be a bylaw. Bylaw is only based on the board itself, but the city charter says it. So well, if they're not in compliance with the city charter, then we got a problem because it's on the city charter. I can highlight it and read it out if you want to, but it's on there. So X amount of unexcused excuse is on the city charter list.
So, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's included in your bylaws, right? Attendance is noted.
It is, yes.
So
yes,
so each board have their own bylaws. One board told me something about, you know, I'm not going to go into which numbers, but that is included in your independent bylaws. So when we receive your attendance sheets, which we request, we go through the notes that you necessarily would have. If there's someone with attendance, they may have submitted an application. We could go cut. I mean, it could be cut and dry, and we could just say we're not going to reappoint someone. But then again, sometimes someone may reflect and say there's a hardship issue, which is very rarely approved. And sometimes more than none, someone comes back and say, "How come this person wasn't reappointed on the board? They have bad attendance, but they're engaged." So once again, we hear it. We will, you know, we'll do our due diligence and do our best, and hopefully we will have a great process, and you guys will have in time for your June meeting. But it's noted. It's noted, and we encourage any of the boards to reach out to us on the matter at hand. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? That's it. All right.
I want to share an email I just came across. Brooklyn, there's going to be a hearing May 27th in the evening regarding proposed changes to the real estate taxes. So just want to make sure people are aware that's out there. There's a report issued about 15 months ago that suggested a potential strategy for changing how property taxes would be determined and what phase-in would be to sort of minimize damage for properties that are significantly increased in tax value. So just something you may all want to consider testifying to share your thoughts to the proposal.
Thank you for that, Richard. So with that being said, that concludes our meeting for May the 6th. Our next meeting is going to be June 1st. We have, I believe, city planning coming back again for a different presentation. And then we will decide whether we resume in September. It's up in the air whether we're going to do something for July. We're not going to meet in August. But can I have a motion to?
Joan Alexander Bacardine moves to adjourn the meeting.
Second, Robert Camacho.
Mr. Camacho, thank you. Everyone in
Wait,
favor? Yes.
so I do have one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I probably missed it because I had a distracted moment. When did you say we'd get notification about our board, which board members made the cut?
So we're aiming for May the 15th, right?
Okay.
The latest is the 17th. And just so you could necessarily understand that, on our end, when we process, we have to get letters and we like to do like a full membership list. We have moved forward with we have moved forward the processing with the missing information, but we like to get all of the record. We like to get the full board intact so we don't have to go back and forth with vacancies and a whole bunch of emails. We prefer that. We prefer to give you a full list with everything included. But if we get to the point where we don't receive the necessary information, then it's going to be processed and there will be vacancies until they're filled.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We're moving forward. Have a nice
All right.
one.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Have a happy Mother's Day, everybody. Be safe.
Happy
Be
Mother's
healthy.
Day
Happy
to the
Mother's Day,
mothers.
everyone.
Yes,
Mother's
happy
Day
Mommy
weekend.
Day. Happy Mommy Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Take good care.
So the meeting is adjourned. Just
Hey,
gonna
¿cómo
put that
estamos?
Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Time now, 5:23.
Okay.
Excellent.